Hello and welcome to what is possibly a lower quality podcast this time, but hopefully the recorder we've got from the founder people is actually perfectly okay. As far as titles are concerned, we've not actually put up the last podcast, so we've not got around to sorting out what suggestions are or anything. Last time it was Talking Lit. This time, because we found out that it winds Laurie up, we've swapped the first letter of those two words. So the title of this podcast is Lalking Tip.
If you could see her face right now, I realise this is arcane for you, but it's totally worth it.
Little Dracula.
Alternatively, we'll call it How to Kill a Laurie Bird, because one was in most. That's not swapping. That's just putting a word in. That's fine. We're doing a couple of features today. In the first half, we're going to talk about what are we talking about? 60-second versions of books. So we're going to try and assess a book in 60 seconds, do the whole plot. And then someone else has to guess it unless you've used, in the case of Laurie, did Twitter?
Yeah, not Twitter, just very short phrases to explain books.
Okay. We'll get around to it.
Hopefully people get them. I don't know.
So we've not actually drawn who's going first. So would anyone like to go first? Anyone particularly? Is this going to be that seminar thing again where everyone's just like, no, I don't want
to. So just to look away, avoid eye contact.
That means one of us gets to meet.
There should be
Hannah, would you like to share your work with us today?
That should be called seminar phase, shouldn't it? Like where you look completely blank, disinterested, and it's sort of like a certain number of degrees down, like 30 degrees.
But also slightly introspective because you don't want to seem like you're not thinking about anything.
I'm forming my point. They'll talk right after the next.
I actually still go for the stereotypical sort of chin stroke.
I go for the pretending to write or highlight something
and you're just drawing a picture.
That's some come to pressure.
Just go for the you've got to Byron it out is what you've got to do.
Byron it out.
I think.
I'll go first. Because the way I've kind of done it is I've told the tale, but from a separate kind of narrative, so a different perspective. So I'm going to go.
Show us.
Okay. A young boy creates an imaginary world within the confines of the acres of woodland his family own. Having been caught stealing from the hives, the boy fabricates a story about one of his imaginary creatures' greed for honey. Within his tale, he expresses various aspects of his personality, his shyness, excitement, sadness, intelligence, stubbornness, in the personas of his characters.
I think that's too clever for me.
I've got a bonus sentence if you want.
No, I think we can handle this. Is it?
Yeah, no, we figured out earlier, so slightly cheating.
Winnie the Pooh?
It is Winnie the Pooh. Because I was going to say, because the shyness is Piglet, excitement is Tigger, the sadness is Eeyore, the intelligence is Owl, stubbornness is a rabbit, and then I've just remembered I've forgotten the kangaroos, but the kangaroo. But
that's really clever. I've already done mine to shame. I'm not going on.
Are we going for points? Is that how this is working? Who can guess the most?
I think we can mutually decide, not guessing, but mutually decide which was the best version.
Okay.
The reason I'm not going for the guessing is because I'm really bad at this. Is in there, and I've decided to put it in the feature. I'm really bad at this kind of thing, guessing what stuff is.
I'm really bad at putting it together. I was worried they're too obscure. Do you
want to do? We'll do guessing. Mine's really easy, so we'll do it. But
do our guessing points.
We're going to do it in the circle. You can't see in what angle. Actually, I've not done hellos. It's exactly the same people in this podcast who were in the last podcast.
We didn't even do an introduction. You know who we are by now.
So this is this amateur work for science.
We can start again.
We could hello and welcome to... that seems so fake. It's Winnie the Pooh!
We've got more of a casual layout, I think.
We're not
just chilled in a room,
If you guys could see this,
you see us with just one recorder. Do you know I found out how much our microphones cost in the other place? It's £500 a person.
£500 on your
person.
Per person, with $2.5 grand worth of equipment. We've got probably 50 quid at the moment.
Chatting away.
Can I go?
Yeah.
I'm doing this basically off the top of my head.
So am I.
So it's spontaneous, man. Okay, ready? Am I ready? Tell me when to go.
Can I stare at you uncomfortably the whole way through? Please.
Just go.
You've never asked before. Okay, so we have a split narrative, and it's two different parts of the world, and In one part of the world, we have 2 women and their friends, and they're talking about stuff, and they go to the seaside, and they have a kind of awful time, and there's something about a black dog. And then there's the other narrative, which is a guy starts out that he's on a train, and he's going through some fairly unfamiliar terrain, and then he gets to the house of his host, and his host is a really cool guy, apart from the polygamy, but he doesn't discover that until later. And there's then back with the 2 women, one of them gets pretty darn sick, and she has to go to bed for a long time, and then someone puts flowers in her room, and then someone takes away the flowers in her room, and then she dies. But it's cool. Please tell me that's a minute.
I think I've got it.
I think they've got it. Like I've
wrapped it up.
Yeah, cool.
Was it Jane Eyre?
It was not.
Oh. The seaside and the door. I don't know. It's way over my head.
Oh wait, is it the French lieutenant's wife? That's honestly.
The hopeful looks.
You look. The thing is that by your face, it's just going to be one of those things that it's going to be like, oh dear. What are we on? I've genuinely no idea.
Nothing for you.
You mentioned polygamy like subtly, so. No, I can't think.
I think when I've heard split narrative, I've gone, oh, it's a serious book. It's a serious book. It's a serious book. It's going to turn out to be a fairy tale, isn't it?
Do you give up?
Yeah, I totally give up.
Dracula, guys.
Dracula!
Oh no! I was actually when you said something, when you said polygamy, I was like, it's Dracula, and I was like, no, I don't recognise the rest of it. But
yeah, of course, Keitha. I kind of thought of the answer, but I just didn't say it.
No, I thought of it and then didn't understand the rest of it to an extent where I went, no.
It kind of got jumbled up.
Can't be Dracula.
I did a postmodern fragmenting of the story.
Right.
That's what I did.
Mine,
different narrative, different perspective.
That was good. I mean, I want to reread Dracula now.
Yeah.
Because there was stuff in there I was like,
what?
My God,
was
that
it
happened?
the like 80s movies on TV the other day? And it is
hilarious. Oh my god.
Oh my god, it's so funny. It's almost like North.
Isn't Ian McKellen in there?
Keanu Reeves is in it. What?
Yeah,
He's the
I want to
vampire
see
slayer.
the new Dracula.
Wait, not Dracula Untold.
No, the new one that was on like HBO or something that has oh god, what's her name? Katie McGrath or something in it, and Jonathan Rhys-Meyers.
What's it about?
Dracula. It looks like it.
Oh, yeah. No, I haven't seen it myself, but yeah, it was on Sky for a while.
Oh yeah, he's the
It
same
looks
guy
like
who does,
Sex on a Stick.
Yeah.
He's the same guy that did the Tudors, though, isn't he?
Yeah, that's the guy.
Sex on a Stick.
Sex on a Stick, like.
All right. Okay.
On a steak.
Oh, good God.
Can that be the quote? Sex and a steak.
Quote of the day.
Yeah, already so early on as well.
Yeah, I know. Caught
I think
that.
you can have multiple quotes.
Yeah, I think so. Last time we had
Multiple
quite a
days.
few. Alright, okay, we're gonna go for mine, which now feels really simplistic.
I don't even.
Yeah. Poor orphan boy who is terror-raised by cruel sister who raises him with her hands and abuses her adorably simple husband. Boy encounters escaped convict, steals food for convict in exchange for life. Convict rearrested. Boy introduced to rich lady with commitment issues and severe agoraphobia. Boy meets girl raised by rich girl to kill men from the inside out. Boy falls in love with her. Boy given metric fuck ton of money by mysterious benefactor who he assumes must be rich lady. Boy goes to London to become gent under the watchful eye of morally ambiguous lawyer. Years pass. Evil girl marries some other tool. Boy unhappy. Boy finds out convict actual benefactor and has strange fantasies of fatherhood. Boy comes up with appalling escape plan to smuggle convict out of country, drags friend who calls him by different name along for the ride. Crazy lady dies crazily. Boy in convict caught. All money gone. Boy travels to Oz to make fortune with friend. Returns triumphant. Meets femme fatale outside house of dead crazy lady, resulting in irritatingly inconclusive ending because author listened to editor.
Is that
Keitha,
your life story?
Keitha, my expectations were a lot higher.
Oh God!
They really were.
Your first pun was so much better.
Oh god. That was crazy.
So anyone want to say the answer?
I think
Great
everyone-
expectations.
Great expectations. Oh my god.
I'm quite impressed they managed to get the whole plot condensed
into that small and so tiny.
You could peddle that to like A-level students.
That pretty much sums up the whole. I wrote this
You
morning.
peddle anything to A-level students. They have no money.
True.
I did realise this morning on the first. I wrote it down. And I was like, I've cut out Joe Golgari. How do I?
Okay. Oh God, is it now my turn?
It's your turn, Kitty.
Okay. Sorry, I was composing myself. Okay, so we've got a crazy guy who's been watching this other guy for a while. He keeps a good eye on him through a lot of means. He ends up basically catching the guy that he's been after while he's making love to his woman in his crazy old house. And then he takes him back to his crazy governmental, like, basically dungeon, but it's very white, and tortures him crazily to get all the stuff out. There's a lot of rats used. And eventually this guy kind of manages to make this poor man defy logic, mathematical logic. And this poor man, eventually released, just ends his days crying gin-soaked tears.
Oh, I like that touch at the end.
What have you done?
Was that 1984?
Yes, I know, this is killing me because one of mine was that as well.
Oh,
Lame.
Yeah. Right.
That was good, I like that.
That was very good.
Yeah.
God.
The problem was I got that so late. I was like,
I was like,
from
damn.
When you got to gin, I was like,
Yeah.
The gin-soaked tears that got you.
I was like,
It was the governmental room that I was like,
Yeah.
and then the rat.
And right, yeah. You have to see a
I've
couple of keynotes.
completely.
What would be in your room at 101?
There was a TV show that did that.
That is actually a difficult question.
What would be in
I mean, I think for me it would be Jeremy Clarkson, but
oh my god.
Do you hate him that much? I don't
No.
mind him that much.
Slugs.
I don't know.
He's officially sacked.
Yeah.
Has he gone now?
Ba-bum.
Oh, there we go. Reveal. This
and
will
by
be
the
out in 2 weeks.
time this go out, he'll have a show on ITV.
Probably.
Or Sky.
Yeah. Or Sky. I'm trying to think what would be in mine. Either really stressful, like, situations.
Rats is quite not an
or-
irrational fear, but it's quite
But rats are kind of dangerous.
because like having a fear of death or something, it'd be quite hard to lock yourself in a room in.
With death.
Yeah, or of like.
Whoa, the Grim Reaper.
Just
Standing
chilling in the
chilling.
corner.
I do have a really bad irrational fear of slugs.
Oh no.
Like really intense.
That would be.
But yeah.
They just really slowly crawl towards you and run
Oh,
along.
it just feel like my entire body just getting covered in slugs.
See, I really don't like deep water. So like being in water where you can't see the bottom. So that would be quite hard to do in a room. It'd have to be a really deep room.
Yeah, but lucky Winston was scared of rats.
Yeah.
I think if someone put a box that says your dissertation is due today, hand it in a room,
Yeah.
that would be bad.
That would be it.
That would
Stressful
be bad.
situations. That's all I need. I just need, like, I don't know, something really cringy on a TV on replay forever, like a dissertation deadline, like that. Just like all the time. So yeah, that would be my.
What would yours be, Kiefer?
It's difficult at the moment because I've just come out of that course, like that course board. I just any extra meeting that I don't want to go to. all meetings should go into room 101 because they're a nightmare.
And he's like, in this
It's
meeting,
just it's a meeting agenda, and it just
And it just
Yeah.
never ends.
It just keeps flipping.
Actually, you might hear my bag open. Apologies to the listeners.
Russell.
That's what I put in.
If you god.
If you,
To
it's,
describe this,
It's a
to describe
thick
this.
wodge of paper.
it's about an inch thick booklet
Yeah.
that they
It's like
went
the
from
Crime and
cover to
Punishment
cover.
of like booklets,
Serious?
I'd say.
Like, you could kill someone with that.
Oh,
Easily.
easily.
That's a
Yellow
weapon.
pages, like,
Literally,
yeah,
you
no
could slit the
bruises.
jugular with a paper cut from this
Yeah.
whiteboard.
I'm just thinking like
Mother.
I always think about this as I'm just like we're a green university, like we're meant to be against paper, and like they print that out and they give it to you, and you're just like I'm never gonna read that. I'm
That
never
would
gonna
make a
read
good
that.
bonfire.
It would be great, yeah. So
green at university, guys.
Yeah, recycle.
Um,
It's all natural.
eco-friendly bonfire.
Yeah, you could use it to like feed the SE for an open mic night. Just burn it, cook some sausages or something.
Ah, there we are.
Oh, well,
Outside
we've got
grass.
we've had health
Totally
and safety
green.
issues already, guys. We don't need a fucking open fire.
It's like hush, 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 hush.
Okay, Laurie has
Okay.
it. What are you doing?
Laura is furiously
Have
writing,
you done
so-
your homework?
Well, yeah, I thought about it and sort of writing it. I don't think they're that good now, though. But yeah, they're like short little things. And because we're going to be talking about fantasy in a bit,
yeah.
right? The topic of conversation. I don't know, in my head, I just thought there's sort of
Hint to the second half, guys.
Yeah, sorry,
Fantasy.
cheeky little
Yeah.
hint.
Teaser trailer.
Yeah.
This one's really short. It was just Strange shit happens when you mix furniture, animals, magic, and children.
Bed knots and brooms.
Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
Yes.
What's a chicken?
Huh? Animals.
Children.
See, that's what you have been trying to read my writing. Won't work. This was really simple as well. Evil guy with a thing for engraved jewellery equals cross-country, cross-species adventure.
Say that again?
Evil guy with a thing for engraved jewellery. I don't know. I didn't think of that. It was like equals or causes cross-country, cross-species adventure.
Oh,
That's
Lord of the Rings.
There you go. And then my last one was, this was my take on it, was older sibling with a thing for political selfies is always watching others. One decides to write a diary about it, falls in love, and ends with bad maths.
It's bad.
Oh, well, that's 1984.
There you go. That was my 1984
Yeah.
one. And there you go.
Oh, they were good. They
Short
were
and snappy.
snappy.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Okay.
Maybe we'll just shorten it next time and then we'll just like keep on making it harder and harder.
No, don't.
A novel in
Yeah.
3 words.
Yeah.
A novel in one word.
Yeah. Book. Nothing you describe
Well,
like,
no, you could do
hey,
like,
that's like so many books.
I don't know, you could probably do a fairy story in a couple of words. Like Cinderella could be a glass slipper. Poison apple.
Yeah, that's true.
Would that be metonymic assessments of books, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Part of it was representing the whole.
terminology.
This is meant to be mildly educational for some people. Maybe metonymy. Part of it, despite like being summarising the whole.
That's
40 sail,
Yeah.
40 ships. Ah, glass slipper, Cinderella.
Okay.
That's actually better than the one they normally use. You should patent that. You should put that in a book. Put it in an essay.
A
Metonymy
list of-
is like saying glass slipper for Cinderella.
Yeah.
What's the example they normally use?
The 40 sail.
I don't even know what
40
that is.
sail.
Like
40
I mean, it's
sails,
like,
40 ships.
it means
Okay,
40
right.
ships. They say, oh well, the ships stand for sails.
Yeah,
The sales
it's
sign.
just-
Yeah.
Oh right, oh, okay. I thought it was like linked to a story or something. I was like, I don't
No,
remember. It's
it's
a
not.
story about
No,
40
you
ships.
could, like, I'm actually thinking, actually my mind's running away with me. You can give me all fairy tales. 2 words. Rapunzel, long hair.
Yeah.
Right.
Magic lamp.
Magic lamp.
Red Hood.
Mm-hmm.
The thing is though, at that point you're just giving the title. Red
Yeah,
Riding
Yeah,
Hood.
yeah. Doing it without mentioning any of the words in the
Grandmother's
title.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Bad Wolf.
That's Doctor Who.
Doctor Who. Doctor Who. Doctor Who. Yeah, no, that's
Some food for
I think
thought for
3
you there,
ones.
guys. Think of you, Ronan. Nail us.
Yeah.
Do like if you want anything, as always, when I actually finally get these up on YouTube, do leave the comments below.
Well, they're up now because the person listening to them it's listening to it.
obviously
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
It must
reason-
be up by the time they're listening.
Yeah.
Oh god.
It's now.
It's
It's in the future. We
Yeah.
could all be dead and you're still hearing our voices.
Why bring the death?
Could
Why
we
are you
immortalise,
deaf?
guys?
I feel like we're
because
to kill
death-
a Kiefer bird right now.
Yeah, oh, man.
To kill a Kiefer.
Their mind is.
Plot
Yeah,
twist.
the reason I'm saying that is because in our one so far, in our last one, which was our second one, it said leave comments and we'll look at it in the next one. Whereas that one's not up yet, and we're recording the third one. You see what I mean?
That was just words.
When they leave the comment on this one, we might not see it until we've recorded
I
like
thought
the
it was
fifth one,
in
which will mean
ex-
skip out another one. So we will get to the comments when we.
This
What
is
you
where
can
we
take
have-
from that, dear listeners, is that Kiefer is crap at putting the podcast up.
Yeah.
But very good
But
at
we love
arranging
him.
things, apparently.
That's true.
I got the footage from the last Open Mind up in 4 days.
He did.
Yeah, I think
Real,
that's
real, real
And that's with me doing
TK
all the video
refuses.
editing of it.
Give nothing away.
He's such a cruel bastard.
See, I thought
The
this
love story.
I don't think it's a love story continues. TK refuses to applaud.
I feel like we
The
should
dies
break
inside.
out
It's
some
totally
music,
unrequited,
like-
that's the problem.
Yeah.
I know. I
Like
just,
Lady in the
honestly-
Tram.
We embody the themes.
So, are we doing the fantasy thing now?
No, we're going to do that after a break, but I was going to do 6-second stories. I did post these to the guys, but...
I've just thought about a link back to the fairy tale one.
Oh, right, okay.
Stockholm Syndrome.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was there, it was on the tip of my tongue. Spelled it.
That is good.
But
Should we do a 6-word story thing?
Yes.
Could you?
Okay.
Okay, basically I found this on a website called Daily Fail Center, which is ruins my life most of the time. But it's just this discussion of how they have managed to compress them. This weirdly follows on from yours, actually, Laurie, of compressing, like, just creating stories with 6 words. Which was...
Oh no, I read some of them. They are like they're really good.
You have
really sad. Like
really,
disclaimer, they're really like if you're feeling depressed, you might want to pause now and like restart again in like 2 minutes. But very, very well done.
Yeah, it's like stuff like goodbye mission control. Thanks for trying.
Oh.
Literally.
I know, right?
They are so they hit really hard.
Mum taught me how to shave. And 1 bullet is a lifetime supply.
Wait, what was one? Can I see one that I read? There was one I really liked.
God, these are quite dark.
They're all like really, really sad.
Like, they're kind of playing though on the stories you already know.
Yeah. What was it? I met my soulmate. She didn't.
Oh my god,
that's hurt.
Horrible.
Just hurts.
Should we all go around and read one then?
Go for it. Scroll through.
Is,
we own none of these, by the way.
Yeah, these are 20. I actually have some of my own, which I'll...
We should. We'll put a link in the comments.
Oh god, yeah. We'll link that and various other things.
It's down there.
It's down there. That I like.
Just scroll.
So, passengers, this isn't your captain speaking.
It's about to go very, very wrong.
Do you want to read one of yours, Kiko?
While CK which one?
Oh wow! Ow!
Oh Christ, TK.
What's your return policy on rings?
Oh!
Oh, it's cold.
It's so sad.
I'm going to throw one of mine and then pass them to Kate.
Yeah, sure. I need to browse.
Right, so we go street corner, sleeping bag, no movement.
Ugh.
Or, what is this? I will always remember you, leaving. Horror story. This is a six-word horror story. Nigel Farage laughing outside number 10.
Oh God!
That is genuine horror.
Oh God.
What about how derelict, stripped of everything but memories?
Oh.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I've actually got one that comes off last week's one. This is. I'll do this as my last one. This is crazy. Call me, TK.
No.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful.
You've seen how that music video ends.
I know. Just you walking away.
Into the distance.
I've just ruined my mood for myself because I scrolled too far on your little thing and just saw a really fat girl and it terrified the shit out of me. I was just about to read, it's our 50th, table for one. And then I went too far and just saw this massive fat girl and now I feel like the mood's lost.
The mood is lost. Are there any happy ones? Can we try to think of a happy, one-line story?
Yeah, you could do a one-line story.
Yeah.
Congratulations, you have a baby girl.
That's just good news.
Oh, at first there were 2 and now there are 3.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, that's cute.
See, mine doesn't seem happy.
God, if you're talking about tumours or something.
Because tumours and babies are so interchangeable.
See, that just makes me think of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, and inside the lump was my twin.
My clone.
This is so eerie.
It's quite hard to think of happy
ones.
Yeah. The sadder ones are the easiest.
Yeah, I've got one that starts sad and ends in 6 words. I think.
Wow, journey.
Tears on smiling cheeks, never goodbye.
Aww.
See, that's meant to be nice. It kind of reminds me of haikus. I think we should do a haiku thing too.
That would be fun.
Especially because I'll be writing a lot soon because it's National Poetry Writing Month, which is totally a plug.
If I drop that in there. Drop that plug
doing
in.
it though.
National Poetry Writing Month is
I've never done it. I'm going to do it.
And
I think that's
if
pretty
you've
fun.
got any classes with Jez, it's total godsend when you haven't got any work done. You're like, day 14.
Yeah, it is great. It's, I did
Not that we never do any work, Jazz.
That
was a tactful silence, right?
She'd go, you've got no time to do your National Poetry Writing Month.
No, of course.
But I think everyone should do it.
I really did enjoy doing it.
There's a website they do daily prompts if you ask for
Yeah,
it.
the prompts are really fun.
The prompts are really odd as well sometimes.
They're really crazy. I had to write a charm for smelly feet, was one of mine. An advert for something about myself. And I really like my charm for smelly feet.
Did it work?
I really considered it putting in my creative writing portfolio. I really liked it.
Oh my god.
But-
No, I'd love to do it because I'm not really writing at the moment.
Yeah,
Just
I
other
need-
things like get into it because you're just doing it every day. Just to,
And you
like,
do, yeah. You just occasionally do write something you really like. A lot of it, you just like.
Or like, because if I had my little, you have to start up a little website. Mine was on Tumblr, and someone reblogs you.
Oh,
and you're like,
that's nice.
oh, I'm famous.
Yeah, but then you get a non-hate. That's not so nice.
yeah.
But yeah, I did work out, and I shouldn't have done really, but if 34 people do it out of our society, just 34 will produce over 1,000 poems.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, do a
So
one.
we've got
Why 34?
you here.
Because that's 1,020. If we did, if it's 33, we'd have 990, and that'd just kill
That
me.
would not do.
that
would
would
not do.
Someone would just need to do 10 more.
Yeah, someone just write an extra 10.
Speaking of poetry, how's progress on the anthology going that you can buy in a few months?
Oh, that's nice. That's very well plugged.
Because you keep
skills.
ruining your
Segue.
plugs by
Say
revealing their plugs afterwards. Be like, that was such great plug team.
Well, you have to
Strong
have.
plug.
You
We
have to have
respect the plugging skill here.
running themes have to go through podcasts, and ours is just pointing out our blatant plugs at them.
Yeah. And puns.
The anthology is going very well, TK. Actually, we have our first written draft more or less done and being proofread next week,
Beautiful.
and then it will be out and hopefully published by the end of April.
Is this
Yep.
the Poetry Anthology Reflections?
You
Yes.
will, and
Yes.
it'll be available for pre-order. If you pre-order it, you get £1 off. It will be £4.50 after June the 1st and £3.50 pre-order beforehand.
And how do you pre-order it, Keith?
You'll be able to pre-order it by emailing the brightonuls@gmail.com email address, or we will also have online tickets at some point as well, because we're having a launch night, which is going to be June the 1st at the Marlborough Theatre, and tickets will be available mid-April with more details on how to order them.
Marble Theatre is a
Perfect.
cool place.
You're like a
I love
terms and
Marlborough.
conditions voice.
Yeah, I know. It's just because it's come
And
out
it's like,
official. 'Cause
and by the way, by buying an anthology, you're selling your soul.
If you play it backwards, that's what it says.
I actually did ask Hannah to throw that in because that is in the terms and conditions. Rather than your heart
just
and
we
soul
laugh it
is
off
mine.
like,
But we'll take
it's
good
true.
care of your
Yeah.
soul.
Yeah.
Yeah, the launch night will be really
It's
good.
better us than, someone mean.
Yeah. All that happens is that, you sell us your soul, and when you die, you get put into a book.
It's immortalised forever. Is that not worth it?
You'll be
Yeah.
a ghost like that, just lives in the library. That's basically what you're
Well,
writing.
you go
in the
Harry Potter
archive.
about this.
Me next year.
Otherwise known as a third year.
Just a ghost in the
I was
library.
thinking I used to have this Where's Wally book, which was set in a book, and each page it'd be like all the characters in the book were escaping. Where's Wally was in there somewhere. And in my mind, all the souls of people buying the anthology were just like popping out little pirates with Where's Wally in the middle somewhere.
You don't
Immortalised.
actually
That's a
lose your
nice
soul. Yeah, I would just like to stress you don't actually lose your soul.
Yeah.
Please buy them. They will be very helpful. And if you can buy a ticket to go to the launch night,
You
they're
only
available.
lose your soul if you don't buy it. That's
Yeah.
how it works.
Yeah.
That's
Now
Then you
heard
get locked
this,
in a Where's Wally
and you
book.
don't buy it. It's like those chain emails.
Yeah.
That you have to apply before a certain time, or you're cursed
My
forever.
mum sends me those, and I feel like that's really twisted. She sends my death to me.
Is your mother particularly just like superstitious at all? Is she actually like?
I don't know. I didn't think she was, but
She
I'm
just doesn't
starting to
like
read
you,
into
that's
it now.
all.
Yeah.
It's always the, I don't believe it, but just in case.
Just in
Yeah.
case.
Just in case.
What else was I going to say? I think that's it.
I
for
think
the
we're
first half.
going for a break.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for a break for the
For a
first
super
half.
fun song.
We do have a song in between. I know who the band is this time. I don't know the name of the song. But the reason I don't know the name of the song is they are just launching their first album,
Ooh.
and it is probably an odd thing to have in Lipcast. It is actually a bit of thrash metal.
Excellent.
There you go.
It was proper thrash metal by a new band from Brighton called Mausoleum Trap, and their music will be available from the 31st of March, which is the month we're currently in. So by the time this is up, it will be readily available, and I will link to them on the comments.
There we go,
Cool.
because it's what we do.
Yeah, we are
Getting
putting the
people
bands
out there, doing what we can.
Unfortunately, we won't be able to listen to it because it's not actually out yet, which is really exciting. I'll be able to-
But we will be like
History.
pretending we're listening to it in the
Yeah.
middle of this room. We'll
Lots
be
of
like,
headbanging.
Yeah.
headbanging,
It's like
crashing.
Schrodinger's cat of like songs. We don't know if it's there, it's not there. We're just gonna comment on it.
They've actually done something that I really like. Is they've done a 30-second teaser of one of their songs and put it on
30
YouTube.
seconds
So I
of
might play
thrash.
you the 30-second teaser.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay,
right.
so
We'll get the teaser, you guys will get
gist.
the...
You get the full whack.
Alright,
All
enjoy
right,
guys.
thank you.
Alright, we'll
See you in the
see
second half. Hi, and welcome to the sort of editing suite, I guess. I'm here with Kitty.
Yay! Me.
We've just been recording some stuff for National Poetry Writing Month,
Which you should all do, obviously.
You actually have to do it. You have no option. As soon as you've heard this, you have to do it. It's like one of those things that you pass on, where you email people.
Yeah,
you're
it's chain email.
It's a chain email, chain audio, chain podcast.
Chain audio podcast.
Just do it. I want you
We
to do
have like an abundance of creepy little girls to follow you guys around.
Yeah.
If you don't do it.
You absolutely must. Yeah, sorry, we literally just jumped in at the bit where we're like, oh, and there's a song coming next. There is a reason for that, but I will get to it in a minute. But what you also must do is watch or listen to the video that will be up just before this goes on of the 13 National Poetry Writing Months from last year, which involves me, the fabulous Kitty, and the wonderful Ruben Mount reading very deep emotional poetry.
In very seductive voices.
Very seductive voices. I can't do the seductive voice. You may or may not have noticed.
Too Mancunian for it, unfortunately.
Oh. What's your poem? Your poem? Should never have done that. That's gonna offend Alex.
I feel like you're dodging the point.
Yeah.
Like either
right, I'm getting around. So I've been a twat. Yeah, I'll take
that. As a twat alert.
Twat alert. Basically, during the podcast, just before we go to this break and just afterwards, I call the band of this week Mausoleum Trap. That is not the name of the band. And considering I know the guitarist and his girlfriend, it's possibly not a good thing that I got the name wrong. So I apologise to Katie, Josh, and the rest of them. I am very, very sorry. It's called Mausoleum Trap. Mausoleum Trap. And I will make the mistake again. It's coming shortly. You will hear it. I call them Mortuary Trap again. But they're not called Mortuary Trap. Mausoleum. And the link below will take you to their page. I also think I said they've coming out with an album, which I don't think they have. I think it's an EP, and I think it's been released tomorrow. It's coming out tomorrow. It's just I got so many details wrong.
You got so excited.
I was so excited to introduce a band.
Your passion for the music
Yeah,
got in the way and blinded your vision
so
about
much.
the actual information.
But what I do have now, which I didn't have then, is the name of the song that they're going to play, and that is Hanging Moon. And I hope you enjoy it. So goodbye from the editing suite, and then I will be back to the other guys, the past Kiefer, Kitty, TK, Hannah, and Laurie. Yeah, no, it's some absolute mindfuck, isn't it?
Addressing the us of the past.
So this is it. Enjoy Mausoleum Trap's Hanging Moon.
You were meant to pretend
good thing or a
I
bad thing?
say good.
Yeah.
And welcome to the discussion about Mean Girls.
That's not how we want to start second half.
Oh, everyone loves the Mean Girls except TK, because he is a mean girl.
Yeah. Why?
He's in it. He hasn't quite realised yet.
That genuinely was what happened during
It's a
the
bit
band.
like, I feel like we're doing a Mean Girls in the sense of, oh, you know, like, TK doesn't really watch Mean Girls and think, oh my god, TK is the biggest fucking bitch.
He's gonna leave the room.
Just like, oh.
I could put my fingers in my ears for 2 minutes. You could just talk into the microphone and
Now
bitch
let's
about
get
me.
Burn Book, it's cool.
Yeah.
I
I
still-
must leave it in the library for you to find.
Yeah. Treasure map.
The thing is, we don't have the advantage of the old studio headphones that we had.
Yeah.
There's so much fun in this TV studio just talking to TK and no one else can hear you. Your arse looks really good in those jeans.
Of course you would.
Did actually happen. Genuinely
He
happened.
did say that. All of these things. I
You
get
can
lots of
whisper Sweet
compliments.
nothings and
Oh,
TK's here all day.
That's what I do anyway.
With
I
nothing.
leave him so many voicemails. that six word story.
21st century.
That 6 word story earlier was a quote. Right, so welcome to the second half. I hope you enjoyed Mortuary Trap's song. I'm hoping the sample that we heard is a good example of how good the actual whole songs are, rather than just a trick, and the rest of them are mellow, classical music or something like that, which would be terribly
We were lied
disappointing. And I'm going to make up for the first half. I'm Kiefer.
Kitty.
Laurie.
Hannah.
TK.
Welcome to the podcast, second half.
Oh
Right.
my god, I sound so surprised about my own name.
My name's Kitty. Right, so as with the last podcast, we're going to do a discussion in the second half. Sort of following on from something which did happen in the news recently, but we're going to get to at the end. But also from an interview Katsuo Shiguro did about his new book, The Buried Giant, which involves fantasy elements. I'm led to believe it's orcs, dragons, that kind of the sort of Tolkien-esque
Arthurian,
yeah, the kind of mythical elements. And he's come into quite a lot of criticism, which I've actually come across quite a lot you come across a lot of literary critics who don't rate fantasy as a way of expressing real ideas, therefore they are quite snobby about the actual literature itself, and will say it can't have any real world value if it doesn't deal in the real world.
Yeah.
Discuss.
So I was just quickly going to say, like, to dispute that is linking back to what we were just doing, the 60-second stories. Like, I was thinking of, like, all my kids' fiction that I used to read when I was younger and trying to, like, summarise it up. But actually, like, the more you get into some of your kids' fiction, it's really hard to summarise it. Like, I was trying to summarise Philip Pullman's Northern Lights and, like, trying to do that in 60 seconds. I was like, actually, this book is really complex and really quite clever. But it's a fantasy novel.
I think there's another side to this debate, though, which maybe we should also talk about, which comes from the other side of fantasy authors saying that when quote-unquote literary authors dip into fantasy fiction, they're not doing it properly.
Yeah.
So, like, I think there was an interview with Ursula Le Guin, who I didn't even know was alive still anymore, but apparently she is, and she was really angry that Kazuo Shiguro had written a quote-unquote fantasy book, because she was like, well, he doesn't actually know, this is a serious genre, and he doesn't know anything about its conventions or what he's doing. He's just sort of dipping in and
That's horrific.
and repackaging it.
That's possibly worse, because I mean the whole point of fantasy is there are no conventions. Surely that is the point of.
Well, I don't know if that's.
I think as a
there are
genre though, it definitely has its own trope. It has its
tropes,
own.
but you can't.
But
say
it's
why
also it's very almost in the same way as poetry has lots of different schools. Fantasy. I'm sorry, I was a big fantasy nerd as a teenager. Fantasy has like so many different. Well, actually, speculative fiction as the umbrella term has so many different things, and then that's sci-fi and fantasy, and then there's sort of like all these different streams of fantasy. So there's the classic, there's high fantasy, and there's low fantasy, and there's Lord of the Rings versus things like the Earthsea Quartet, and so fantasy is a really like I don't want to say what's the word? It's a really diverse genre in and of itself. All these books are in conversation with each other, and I think
It's got its own canon almost.
Yeah,
It's
it absolutely
little
does.
world
It
going
absolutely does.
So maybe the fear is that once you start kind of delegating certain fantasy fiction as literary fiction, then you're kind of like saying other types of fantasy fiction aren't.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So like if you start going into that argument of or kind
you
of
can't pick and choose.
I know that's what you can't pick and choose. So maybe that's why people avoid that whole thing in the first place.
Just kind of barring people from certain sorts of
It's kind of.
I think also it's a cultural thing within, because I think there is this sense still that if you were the fantasy writer / reader, you're kind of like the weird kid, and I think that stays. And so then for Kazuo Ishiguro to be like, well, I write these sort of serious books. I'm just going to do a fantasy thing because fantasy's clearly easy, right?
I think I can see the other side of the argument where it does almost a disservice to the complex nature of fantasy as a genre.
I'm not saying I agree with that position, by the way.
It's an interesting book because I hadn't thought, I knew we were going to be talking about fantasy, and I watched the interview and I was very much, he should be able to write what he wants, and sort of, some of the criticism is unnecessary, but it's interesting, I find that seeing it from the other side of, the other point of view.
But it's sort of presumptuous to say that none of the criticisms that I heard that is based on what is actually written. You're just saying he can't do this genre. What if he did it really well? What if he does it really? What's the problem?
Because Ishiguro has always been quite a kind of not experimental, but he writes a lot of different stuff. He can't say Ishiguro and say he's like one genre man.
What I didn't get, and this is kind of works with his last two novels. His other one from 10 years ago, Never Let Me Go, Man Booker nominated, based in a futuristic dystopia, and this is based in a mythic past. Now, they're both sort of creative, speculative fiction, but it's, for some reason it's okay to for that kind of stream of thought for him to do dystopia. Dystopia is fine, you can do dystopia, but you can't do mythic past.
But that dystopia was very
it's quite
realistic. And we've had this before when Margaret Atwood when Margaret Atwood wrote The Handmaid's Tale, there's an interview with her in which she says something kind of jokingly saying, well, I'm not writing sci-fi because sci-fi is squids and spaceships. And people got massively upset. And she's since talked more eloquently about that.
It's the blurred lines between sci-fi and dystopia because they're both set in the future, they're both a lot about taking, I think when someone writes you can't help but take current anxieties or issues or themes and you're imposing them on a future that you're created or a fantasy.
But don't you think that some fantasy writers do that, but just in the fantasy world?
Yeah, absolutely.
It can be completely kind of extrapolating onto fantasy fiction.
Deliberately.
Not just dystopia.
Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the big one.
And how can you the skill involved in creating a world with languages, culture?
I mean, Tolkien made his own language. He
languages.
I mean, he was a linguist. That did help a bit, but I mean, he didn't just create this world. He really got
it.
Populated it.
He made it real.
Fantasy. It's far more if I get just everything else. It's all just everything very political or society based. If I'm in fantasy, the kind of commenting on humanity as a thing. Definitely in Terry Pratchett books, you see it's kind of these complex relationships between people in this crazy world, on the back of a tortoise. But it's still these beautiful human relationships. They're kind of because they're taken out of like a classroom and coffee and stuff. You end up kind of going to this crazy world. Of course, people are like that.
I think. So, in my opinion, this is genuinely my opinion. I think quite a lot of the time it takes a more authorial talent to create that world, and it gives you a better background to discuss political problems, societal problems, if it's a created world, because then you can create the problem and then look at ways of solving it. If you do it with the real world, quite a lot of the time you come up against brick walls and actual issues or something you don't want to write. If you create the problem in that world and then discuss ways through it.
Okay, so question: does that? And this is I'm playing completely devil's advocate. I was a huge fantasy nut as a teenager, and I still am really. So if you're doing that, does that mean that you're then skirting around certain issues in the real world that might actually be pertinent? So I'm thinking of Tolkien, for example. There's something ridiculous. The Hobbit has no women in it, none.
There was something.
And there's a sort of state of, as a novel that is really about sort of courage and also a very British novel about. No, almost you could make the argument that The Hobbit is a novel about Englishness. Essay topic. Someone go do it.
Yeah,
To completely have no women in it because, for some reason, he's creating a world, but the way he creates it isn't
representative of.
Yeah,
I think because. But that is the thing, is like when you're reading a fantasy novel, you are reading it as if it's another world. Like you don't of course, like if you really want to read into it, you can look at how it reflects everyday life. But generally, like the idea of a fantasy world is it's not real. If that makes sense.
Oh, it makes it. See, I'm just all about the emotions. Like it makes it more about the people. Like in the Northern Lights when I was younger. Like, the world is completely fantastical. It's like animals with wheels for legs, like they're just spinning about, and you're like, what the hell? I remember I had to reread it 3 times to actually try to gain a concept of that. But the emotions in the people are like making you weep. Like, really, I threw the last, I can't remember what it's called now.
The
last of the trilogy.
And the Spyglass.
Yeah, Spyglass. I threw it at the wall because I wouldn't finish it because I knew what was going to happen at the end. And I've never read the last.
Really?
Yeah.
I couldn't do it. I was too young. I was just like, no.
I mean, what do you think? Do you know what happens?
Yeah, I don't.
So that's on my summer reading project list actually.
Well, he's done prequels as well, and a sequel actually that finds Lyra in Oxford.
Oh,
a little while
read that
after.
when I was young.
Yeah.
I read that and I hadn't read the trilogy, so I was so confused. It just seemed like it was this really cute little hardback red book, and very, very small. It was like this girl in Oxford, and I didn't know what was going on. I had no context of it, so I was like, okay.
He wrote another one. Is it the same one? But the guy with hot air balloon.
Yeah, Lee Scoresby.
Yeah, he pops up again. He also wrote some beautiful fairy tales, actually.
I know he got mentioned in a lecture the other day actually. Pullman.
I think he's opposed to Narnia.
Yeah, because of the whole sort of recreating religion. Yeah. It's the one thing that I was going to say about Tolkien as well, which I didn't realise, was I was looking at him last year and I realised that he was heavily religious. And quite a lot of his motivation was in the same idea of Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe, C.S. Lewis, kind of idea of getting people into religion. Especially, I read The Silmarillion last year, and it starts with a creation story, and it's brilliantly written, it's beautiful, it's amazing, I love Tolkien, but there's that kind of thing of it is a male world and it's religious.
And this is the thing with fantasy, almost because you are so much more powerful as an author, you can slip in things that
possibly shouldn't be.
Maybe not they shouldn't be in there, but maybe fantasy replicates problematic worldviews as much as it does revolutionary.
And that's the essay quote, everyone.
that is your conclusion.
Literally.
I think what's like another point to consider is that, I mean, I might be talking speculatively here, but fantasy is very much considered as like a children's genre, I think.
Yeah.
But now we're finding there are a lot of writers coming back who are writing particularly adult fantasy. I mean, bringing up A Song of Ice and Fire, the George R.R. Martin's books, they're definitely angled towards adults, in the fact the content in it is just barbaric and violent, and like if you can't give it to a child to read. Maybe because of the program it's been popularized recently, but like there is now more fantasy angled towards adults.
Do you think there's more, or do you think it's more well known?
I'm not sure. When I was
my dad making me read a Weave World.
When I was younger, I was really, really into. I think I just fell away from it, which is another thing I'm going to talk about in a sec. But my dad, we used to read loads of fantasy novels, and they were very much for adults. They weren't as I was reading when I was a kid as sort of these amazing fantasy worlds, but I could tell that there was something quite mature about them. They weren't necessarily explicit or anything like that. I was fine to read them, but there were these huge 600-page books that you just get lost in. But I'd say they've definitely. But these are all definitely marketed for adults. Thinking back, but I think it's just they've moved into popular culture,
and that's a really weird thing. That I think it genuinely is a blip, that space where fantasy was only for children. Because if you look at sort of all our like really important big stories, like Spencer writing The Fairy Queen, going back to like epics of Gilgamesh and Greek myths, and exactly all of these are essentially fantasy. you know.
And that they are serious literature.
Yeah.
So what happened, guys?
Yeah, the Enlightenment happened.
Yeah.
It was a bad idea.
Yeah.
But going back to this actually covers two different things on this. The Song of Ice and Fire, or George R. Martin's books, was actually reviewed by Margaret Atwood in The Guardian the other day. But she reviewed the TV programme, which is a really thing, where she didn't do the books. But she said the reason she loves it is because the people in it are real.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
I think
very much so.
yeah, you see sort of
It's a
this
lot of people.
realistic desire of it, and I think that is quite a lot of the time what it comes down to. I think if an author is writing fantasy or literature, if you have real characters who can empathise and make decisions, then it's
Whoa, what was that sentence you just said,
Yeah.
Kiefer?
real.
Whoa.
There were quotation marks on real literature, by the way, just so you know.
So, how about this? What about saying, as a provocation, fantasy is a genre, sci-fi is a genre. What if literary fiction is
Yeah.
also a genre? How do we feel about that? And it's no better than fantasy, it's no worse.
Yeah.
It's also no better than children's fiction. It's also no better than, say, and I'm using quote marks here, chick lit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, it's an important thing, because I was going to say with the fantasy as well, like reading as a kid, I remember in school it just sort of phasing out. Like as a child you were very much encouraged to, like, a lot of children's literature is fantasy based, and it just sort of phasing out of it. It was being very much involved when I was studying literature in school and reading at home though.
Yeah, that you have that level of like you're reading for enjoyment, you're reading fantasy, and then school, like you've got to read proper literature.
Yeah,
it's
I
very
think
much
it's
that
very
you've
much
got to
built into
read
the
proper
education system.
literature.
This thing of like
That's
proper
right.
literature being a theme in itself. I remember my like English teacher who really like inspired me. She was really into cult literature, and I think a lot of, probably not as cult as she made it seem at the time, but it was very much, that was my idea of proper literature, that these very strange, difficult to understand books. I was like, okay, that's what proper literature must be.
Yeah.
And I think that's very, I don't like to think that was a singular experience. I think a lot of people get that
Yeah.
studying.
That's true, actually,
You get
because you
well
hit GCSE and you have to study Great Expectations.
And then suddenly Harry Potter isn't considered proper literature.
Mm.
No, I
anymore.
didn't read.
You
I
know,
didn't read
chick lit
pleasure
isn't-
for
yeah.
nearly 4 years when I was
Mm.
doing my GCSEs and A levels. Because by the time I finished, I remember reading Tempest over and over again. And by the time I done it, I was like, I don't want to touch a book
Mm.
ever again.
Mind you, that's fantasy. It's the,
Yeah.
the Tempest, isn't it?
Tempest
again?
is pretty hard.
I very much probably one of few like because you're reading fantasy as a child, but it's still within school, like within the boundaries of school.
Yeah.
You're just encouraged to read, whereas when you grow older, you're encouraged to read certain things and go into a certain particular kind. And it's only if you really love reading and you read outside of the spectrum of school that you find there are still people who read fantasy, like, and most of the time they read fantasy. So going like with what you said, like I read a lot of fantasy fiction still, like when I was at my upper school in year 9, and I was considered a little bit geeky because of that. And it was like, you know, I'd be sitting there with my George R. Martin, like slowly crying as my favourite character had just died, and people would be like, why are you like so into it? And it's just because it's a great book. And I think kind of as people grow older, they kind of forget the enjoyment of being immersed in like this kind of fantasy world, which
People are
is
getting that back though. I feel like
it's definitely
with Game of
resurgent.
Thrones, especially, I think has helped.
So,
I think, yeah.
should we ask the hipster question? Do we think that the genre is suffering from being made more popular?
I think I'd have to be more of a fantasy expert to actually comment on it, if I'm honest. I think I would have to be much
there's been
better
no
read
like.
than I am.
I haven't seen any trash versions of Game of Thrones.
Mm.
Like, you know, like when something is popular, you just see so much. Even 50 Shades of Grey, which I hated anyway. You got like more trashier versions of 50 Shades of Grey coming up. Got like 50 Shades of Yellow. And I was like, what the hell?
That's a disease. You need to go to a doctor.
It's like a syphilis version of 50 Shades. No, I was just like, I haven't seen since Game of Thrones came out. Like, I have not seen. I've seen lots of like repackaged the Game of Thrones series.
I've seen a lot of
The
historical
actual books
like
coming out with like
resurgences.
new covers with
Yeah.
people on from, but nothing like hideously.
I've seen an occurrence in
horrendous.
more like you get a lot of historical dramas now.
Yeah.
Because Game of Thrones is so, you can tell it's very loosely based on sort
The
of
War of the Roses
the War of the
and
Roses
stuff,
and the way the world is
Is it?
set out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it really? I
Lannisters
didn't know that.
is
So is it like a
Lancasters
Roman
and-
clef?
Huh?
Kinda, yeah.
Lannisters is Lancasters and then Starks is Yorks. I always thought.
Yeah, it's something along
loosely
that
based.
whole kind of like over the period of war
Cousins.
because it was all the
Yeah.
families
Yeah.
fighting in England. Like, that's kind of loosely what it's based on.
that's
Of course, there
interesting.
weren't dragons.
And
Well,
things like
It's
the
so
idea of the
convenient,
wall,
isn't it, that they found Richard III right when all this Wars of the Roses stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe they had him in a box actually
Yeah,
and just
waiting
brought him out.
I just remember when that came out, I was obsessed with horrible histories when I was younger.
Oh, I used to
And,
love that.
in they used to have little, I used to like memorize loads of them, so I used to read them so much. But like in the corner of one of my magazines was fun fact. It's like Richard III might be buried in a car park in like somewhere, and I was like, and then when it came out, I was like, holy mother, they were right. Did they know?
They knew.
Horrible history conspiracy.
Oh my gosh.
I think, yeah.
But going back to kind of whether the popularisation of fantasy is maybe killing it, or I think it's what you mean by popularise, in the fact that I think what I would define popularising within this particular genre is when not only has the book become like relatively well known, but when it has moved on to the kind of visual aspect. So like Game of Thrones has been turned into a program, and you've got very other like fantasy like stories and stuff becoming more visual, and that's how they become popular. And then maybe they go to the book. I very much found like a lot of people don't read the books; they just watch the program.
Bought the books for their birthdays, like, because they really like TV shows.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the discussion for next time, is TV and film adaptations.
Yeah, but things you could say about sci-fi as well. Like, did sci-fi kill sci-fi books, which I don't think is true.
Because and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Like, I mean, going back to Philip Pullman, like the Golden Compass, as it was called, was a massive flop because they just didn't capture it. Well, one, they changed the name because
well, you couldn't get.
Well, that was the name in America because they
don't understand the concept of Northern Lights.
For the like listeners, our listeners, you missed Hannah just put America in quotation marks. Yeah, America. Like that's a real place.
It's just a concept.
Yeah, I have to move on, but I have to reveal my motivation for doing that whole thing. Fantasy was something that I tried to work into my A-levels. It's good that we discussed the school thing as well, because when I did my A-level main essay, you come to the end of the year thing, I wanted to do 2 books, and one of them was The Hobbit, which I was allowed, and the second one I wanted to do was Pyramids by Terry Pratchett, which is also a great book.
I read that.
It's a really good book. But I was told I couldn't because Terry Pratchett was not a serious author. I suspect, and quite cynically possibly, that attitude might change drastically over the next few months. But I did just want to sort of have the guys discuss Terry Pratchett, his effects on them, what they believe, because it's something I posted on Facebook and I read a while ago, luckily before he'd left us, that someone had analysed his works, all of them, and the philosophy within them, and Terry Pratchett, I think we can all agree, was a very, very intelligent man. Yeah. And he created a beautiful, immersive world, which, yes, fantasy, yes, on the back of 4 elephants, on the back of a turtle. Yeah, Discworld was just that first passage to every book was just always brilliant.
Morport, the city with the huge tower in the middle of it. It's amazing.
Within this fantasy world, he really did look at problems with humanity in very comical manners.
There's emotion in there. So much.
I was just gonna ask the guys if they wanted to say anything about Terry Pratchett. Any particular favourites?
I've only actually read The Colour of Magic. That's the only Pratchett book.
I've only read a few. I'm not.
I've read a few, and it was so long ago. I was reading these when I was a kid again. And I just remember again, if I read them again now, I'd probably read them very, very differently. But as a kid, it was such an amazing thing for your imagination. Like, it was such a good, if you could, I think, work your imagination like a muscle. I think his books are amazing for that, because you just have these wacky descriptions of things. Like, the idea of trying to imagine, like, the end of, I can't forget which book, the end of the world. The end of the world when the water just moves off the edge of the disc. And trying to imagine what a little house on the end of the world would look like.
I was always a fan of his little footnotes as well.
I was just going to say,
little annotations.
That's the thing, like, you get this kind of impression when you're reading his writing. He's got so much to say, and he wants, even he's adding in the extra bits of like the footnotes, and you still get the impression that there was so much more. But he just he has to condense it down into something to produce it, otherwise he'll never kind of produce something.
What's good to talk about is his craft and the way, you know, like Terry Pratchett was one of those. That's really sad. Terry Pratchett was one of those writers who knew how to craft a good sentence and a good paragraph and a good
and he did
story.
it again and again. He did. I think he averaged
So
2
many.
books a year. Or
Yep,
something
I used to have a
It's so-
stat
There's
like
41.
way high, foot high.
41 novels
Yeah.
for the Discworld series.
Neil Gaiman, who was very close to Terry, they were quite good friends, and they wrote a book together called Good Omens. Did an interview with Michael Chabon recently, where he talked about the process of writing with Terry Pratchett, and it's incredible how dedicated he was to the work he was doing and how much work went into it. And then for people to turn around and say, well, it's not like a real writing.
Yeah,
It's not serious fiction.
It's really,
Well,
I
he was
think,
very
short-sighted.
I saw a Nation live. They did the National Theatre put it on, actually right after doing Northern Nights, and they got really chastised about it. Because they were like, so you know, Nation, so it's like a boy, a white mid-Victorian girl, and like a native boy from this island. She shipwrecked. There's a massive tsunami. All his people are gone. It's just 2 of them on this island, and they build this formative like nation together, and they're like helping like people, stragglers coming up to shore, and they have to build a nation. And it's kind of like it like really talks about like a godless world, because the National Theatre got absolutely slammed for doing Northern Lights followed by Nation. So like you're teaching children it's a godless universe and nothing bad stuff
I
happens.
can't believe someone went up against that.
It was up against, they're kind of like, it was definitely like it was frowned upon slightly.
Yeah,
Huh.
and I think just as well outside of his books, he was a great man as well. He did. If you ever get a chance, I'll try and find an online version of it and link it in the description of the video. He did a program on euthanasia. Not long after he was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. But he was a real humanist, if I can use that description.
Yeah.
He really
He's
cared
an
about
advocate of
people.
people's choice.
Yeah.
People.
And people's
Well, he was a big-
dignity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he likes the idea of people having a choice. I think above all things, he always gave people a choice, and he always did that with his characters and his stories and his plots. And he really did occasionally summarise human history very well. I did my favourite book of his is Going Postal.
Oh yeah.
I hated the TV adaptation of it.
Yeah, no, that's the
Right.
TV adaptations are
I
the
liked
one
Godfather, but
I never get on with them because they're just, I don't know, I just found they will never do what a mind can do to imagine his world. Yeah, you know, I just think it's beyond, for me, it was beyond that, oh, well, the TV, I didn't think so-and-so looked like that, or I didn't think it, because it's just everything, there's such strange descriptions like death, he'll just have death in the book, who just speaks in capital letters all the time. So trying to imagine that voice in your head, I think that's the beauty of Terry Pratchett. My death is going to be different than everyone else's death.
Yeah.
that's one of the beautiful things that came out of this whole thing is the fans. If you've ever seen what the fans have done, is they did an online petition to death to say they couldn't kill Terry Pratchett, and it got thousands of signatures, and it is a real online petition to say death, bringing back, and I think even his family and friends did on his Twitter after he died. He walked into the desert with a hand holding death's hand or something along.
Yeah.
But the stories will continue. Though.
I was gonna say
They trusted his daughter Rihanna to write them for him.
Yeah, and also like that's something we're definitely struggling with. As in like drama society, we're putting on Weird Sisters, which is an adaptation of one of his stories. And so all of a sudden now there's this like, we have this pressure of like, you got to do injustice, you know, like, and you know, but we're all enjoying ourselves whilst we're doing it, and we still find it absolutely hilarious. Like the amount of times we're just going over the same scene and the same joke is there, and it's just
and he really really worked on his jokes.
Yeah,
there's this thing that in this interview I was talking about where he calls Neil Gaiman up and he's like, right, I've got these 3 possibilities for the joke. Is it funnier? I can't remember. Is it funnier if a man is raised by dwarves and doesn't realise that he's really tall, or if he's the lost prince and doesn't know he's the lost prince? Or something?
But they're just
But I was. I think I was going to call it to a close on that, just to say that I think the best way to to celebrate Terry Pratchett is to read his books.
Carry on reading.
Yeah. Possibly buy a charity shop one rather than the ones that are now discounted in superstores and selling it as like half price because they realise it's a trend or something.
It's topical.
But they're always available in charity shops. There's an abundance of Terry Pratchett in this country, and you can always get it for a relatively good price. And I think if you haven't experienced him, I think you really need to. He was and still is an amazing man. And I think I'm going to end with that. So we've been Lalking Tit.
Every time.
That has actually killed Laurie.
She's gone. Next week it will just be us four.
And I think we'll say next time we do it, we'll do adaptations of books. I think that's a pretty solid thing.
Sounds pretty cool.
All right, so it's goodbye from me.
Oh, goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
Ta-ra.
Bye.
You have to be awkward.